In this episode, we talk about Mamata Banerjee flagging the issue of repeated epic numbers for voters. We also talk about the highlights of the 2024 World Air Quality Report. But first, we talk about the India versus Bharat debate. Hi, I am Niharika Nanda, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. The RSS has once again brought to the fore the India versus Bharat debate. Speaking at a function in Delhi, RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosabale emphasized the importance of what he called the Hindi name of the country, Bharat. He said that in English it is India, but in the Indian language it is Bharat. So why then is it the Constitution of India or the Reserve Bank of India?
भारत के नाम को इंडिया ही कहना चाहिए. वो इंग्लिश में इंडिया है और भारतीय भाषा में भारत है. क्या ऐसे हो सकता है दुनिया में कहीं? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया भारत का संविधान, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया भारतीय रिजर्व बैंक. हर जगह पर ऐसे क्यों करना पड़ रहा है? प्रश्न उठना चाहिए. इसको ठीक करना ही पड़ेगा ना. देश का नाम भारत है तो भारत ही कहो और एक इंडिया है.
Now the debate over what the country should be called dates back to its inception. However, more recently, it became a major issue in 2023 when invitations for the G20 summit in Delhi were sent out in the name of the President of Bharat instead of the President of India, as is customary. Back then, my colleague Shashank Bhargava spoke to the Indian Express's Deeptiman Tiwary and Adrija Roychowdhury about what our founding fathers thought of the issue and how the RSS, the ideological parent of the BJP, views this debate. Today on the show, we revisit that conversation. Here's Adrija Roychowdhury.
So, right from the first time when, the first article of the Constitution was read out, there was this whole debate on, what it should be like, whether India should come before Bharat, after Bharat, commas, and things like that. Okay, and there were quite a few of the members who were rather against the use of the term India because, they saw it as a reminder of the colonial past. So, for instance, you had Seth Govindas, who was a representative from Jabalpur, and he insisted that Bharat should be given preference over India and that it should be underlined that India was just a substitute for Bharat in the English language. Then, there was Govind Ballabh Pant from the United Provinces. He argued that India was a name that was given to the country by foreigners who had robbed us of our freedom. And he said, and I quote, "If we even then cling to the word India, it would show that we are not ashamed of having this insulting word which has been imposed on us by alien rulers." So there was this idea that, India is like a foreign word and, it's something that we need to get rid of.
Okay, so many of the members believed that India had a lot of colonial connotations.
Yes.
And so did these members prefer Bharat over India?
So clearly, there was no opposition to the word Bharat being used in the Constitution and the name being Bharat, except that the debate here was more about where it should be placed, whether it should be before or after India. But definitely there seems to have been a consensus that Bharat needs to be there in the Constitution.
And what exactly were the arguments made to use the word Bharat?
So, as far as Bharat was concerned, most of the Constituent Assembly members, they were making references to ancient Indian literature. So, someone like Seth Govindas, he pointed out that Bharat has been mentioned in Puranic literature. Both the Vishnu Purana and the Brahma Purana, they mention Bharat. Then there was Hari Vishnu Kamath, who argued that Bharat or Bharatvarsh or Bharat Bhumi, these are all names derived from the scriptures. There were also many who said that the Chinese traveler Huan Sang, he had referred to the country as Bharat. So essentially, these were references to ancient Indian literature, sources from travelers, and references like these, which all the assembly members were making to say that, this name has been in existence for much longer than perhaps India has. So there was also Hari Vishnu Kamath, who insisted that the word India should only appear as a translation of Bharat, and he referenced the Irish constitution, and he argued that, even in Ireland, when the state became independent, they had changed the name, and the Irish constitution had read that the name of the state is Ire, or in the English language, Ireland. So it was on similar grounds that he argued that, in the Indian constitution also, we must have Bharat, that is India, in the English language.
And so how did they finally settle it? How did India manage to appear before Bharat?
See, throughout the debates, Mr. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of the drafting committee, he had to keep reminding the members that, the debate is not about whether Bharat should be included or not, and there need not be any debate on the civilizational origins of the term Bharat, but the debate over here, or the confusion over here, is rather about where it needs to be placed in the article. And even though there were quite a few members who were opposed to the use of the term India, eventually the majority of the Constituent Assembly members, they argued for having both India and Bharat. So in the final constitution, what happened was both India and Bharat were kept on the same footing.
Now, even though the Constituent Assembly resolved it, this debate has continued even after 76 years, at least in certain pockets. For example, BJP's ideological parent, the RSS, has always used the term Bharat ever since it was formed.
Since its inception, that is since 1925, as long as we know RSS has existed.
That's Indian Express's Deeptiman Tiwary.
And RSS has consistently used Bharat in place of India. Made a special effort to use the term Bharat in place of India. Although it's not that it has never used the word India at all. It has. But it has always been its attempt that as far as possible, it is the term Bharat which is used to denote the country and not India.
So basically the RSS views India as a colonial legacy.
Correct. It has been a long-standing argument of RSS that India is not a term that has organically originated from this land. Historically also, India has actually emerged from the word Indus and the Indus Valley and the land which falls to the south of that. So there may be an argument whether British gave it or the Greeks gave it or who gave it or at what time this word India actually came into being. But they say that at least we never used. This was not something that we called ourselves. Whoever may have called us India, we never called ourselves India. We always called ourselves Bharat. So why should we actually use the term India? And they say that all other countries, which were colonized, when they became independent, they used the term that was theirs. They give the example of, say, Ceylon. Ceylon became Sri Lanka. Burma became Myanmar. So they say that in a way that only if you're not proud of your civilizational history will you remain tethered to a term given to you by a foreigner.
Right, and in this regard, Bharat is also mentioned in the famous RSS leader M.S. Golwalkar's book, A Bunch of Thoughts. Could you talk about what he says?
So let's understand that it's not just about that in Indian language. Like, for example, RSS says that, look, in Indian language, be it Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Bengali, it has always been called Bharat. So what is this controversy about India and Bharat? Everybody in this country, even today, calls India as Bharat. So, what's the problem? But we have to also understand that for the RSS and for the BJP, it also has a very deep cultural context. And this cultural context, if we look at Golwalkar's work and all the things that he has said when he was the second RSS chief. So his book, Bunch of Thoughts, in that he talks about Bharat in a very deep cultural context. And he says that the very name Bharat denotes that this is our mother. In our cultural tradition, the respectful way of calling a woman is by her child's name. He says, we say she is Ramu's mother. So also is the case with the name Bharat for our motherland. Bharat is an elder brother of ours, born long, long before us. He was a noble, virtuous and victorious king and a shining model of Hindu manhood. When a woman has more than one child, we call her by the name of her eldest or the most well-known among her children. He also says that India was a name given by the British and it was the failure of independent India's leadership that they tethered the country to this term and did not accept Bharat as the name of the country. And he has also equated Bharat, it is a running theme in his texts, with Hinduism. And he says actually Bharat is land of the Hindus. So it has a deep cultural context as well for the RSS.
And Deeptiman, have we actually seen attempts to change India's name in the past from India to Bharat?
Interestingly, if we talk about RSS has never passed a single resolution to change India's name to Bharat. From 1950, there have been multiple resolutions till date. In fact, there are 2 resolutions every year. But even though in all those resolutions, it has always used the term Bharat for India, yet some leaders say that it was never found necessary because this is our cultural practice. It didn't matter. However, in the Constituent Assembly debates, there have been attempts later in independent India In 2004, very, very interestingly, a resolution was brought in the UP Assembly when Mulayam Singh Yadav was heading the government, and it was brought by the government, and there was a discussion in the assembly over it, and the BJP walked out. That is something the BJP leaders can explain as to, all this controversy that is happening now, why they walked out at that time. There may have been political reasons for it. So again in 2015, there was a petition which was brought to the Supreme Court, which again wanted the name to be changed to Bharat. And this petition was eventually dismissed by the Supreme Court on the ground that, both the names are already there in the Constitution. And even the central government gave an affidavit in the Supreme Court to the same effect that there is absolutely no need to do this.
And at this point, we should also address the rumors that have been floating around on social media that the government plans to officially change the country's name. So are there any plans to do that?
It's very difficult to know the plans of this government, to be frank. But be that as it may, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur yesterday came out and said that these were rumors. And even though that there are two invitations in public domain, which call President of Bharat and Prime Minister of Bharat, yet the government has maintained that the emergency session of the parliament, which is being held very soon, will not have bill or anything of that kind. At least at this moment, it is being called a rumor. So we have to go by what the government is saying. But who knows? In times to come, we may see something like that.
And Deeptiman, how has the BJP responded to this controversy and the opposition's criticisms?
The BJP has said that this is a controversy which has been created by the Congress and that there is no controversy at all. Why are people protesting it? Are they not comfortable with the word Bharat? The whole nation calls it Bharat, so what is the problem? Why are they so, attached to a term given by foreigners? And it is there in the Constitution, so what is the problem? They say that we are only giving primacy to Bharat because it is these people, that is the Congress and the opposition, who have distorted history and, decimated our civilizational history and culture. So they say that if we are giving primacy to Bharat, why are they having a problem? So obviously now it has become a sort of a political slugfest where the Congress is saying that this name is being changed merely because the opposition alliance is called India, and the BJP is saying that these are people who are not proud of their civilizational history, and that is why, they're making controversy out of it. So it's interesting to see how this is going to pan out.
Next, we talk about the unique Electors photo identity card number. With the West Bengal Assembly elections due in 2026, Mamata Banerjee has asked her party workers and members to be vigilant regarding the electoral process. She recently alleged that the BJP is colluding with the Election Commission to influence the elections through fake voters. The TMC chief has flagged that several voters have the same Electors photo identity card number, also known as EPIC number. In this segment, the Indian Express's Damini Nath joins us to talk about EPIC numbers, the importance that they hold, and the inconsistency that has been highlighted. Damini, tell us, what are EPIC numbers, why and how are they allotted?
So EPIC stands for Electors Photo Identity Card. It is the voter's ID card which every registered elector can get. However, this card doesn't mean that you have a right to vote. You have to be registered or enrolled to vote in your respective assembly constituency to actually cast your vote. The card basically has an alphanumeric series which has a unique code for your assembly constituency followed by a numeric series. It has the elector's name, age, residence, and any other particulars that the EC can specify. It has a photograph of the elector and a signature of the registration officer.
Right. And can you explain to us in detail what exactly the TMC chief has said about the EPIC numbers?
So as we know, there have been, allegations from opposition parties over the last few assembly election cycles regarding the voter list. First, it was the Congress that raised some issues. Then the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi also raised issues with the purity of the electoral roll. They had alleged that the Election Commission's process for addition and deletion wasn't fully accurate. Now, with the West Bengal State Assembly elections due next year, the TMC has become the latest opposition party to raise concerns over the voter list. Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of West Bengal and TMC head, she last month was speaking in a rally in Calcutta and she asked her party workers to be vigilant when it comes to checking the voters list. she raised concern that the BJP, with quote-unquote collusion of the Election Commission, was going to get fraudulent voters in Bengal. Soon after that, other TMC leaders began issuing statements and addressing press conferences, sharing lists of what seemed like duplicate voters. These lists showed that the epic number of a voter in Bengal was the same as the epic number of a voter in Haryana or JNK, and the party released lists with several such examples of identical epic numbers. Their allegation was that when it comes to voting day, a person with the same epic number comes to the polling booth, and which would lead to denial of voting for one of those electors.
And has the Election Commission responded to these allegations?
Yes, the Election Commission actually has issued 2 responses to these allegations. The first was within days of Mamata Banerjee's statement, where the EC said that the duplicate epic numbers does not mean that there are duplicate or fake voters. The EC highlighted the fact that you can only vote in the constituency where you are on the rolls. So even if you have the same epic number as somebody else, you cannot cast your vote in that assembly constituency unless you are also registered in that constituency. The EC's explanation was that when the epic cards started in 1993, the process was manual and decentralized. So states and UTs would issue their own epic numbers. And in 2017, the EC came up with a platform called the ERO Net, which is the Electoral Registration Officers Net platform. And this was the centralized platform from where the EC would issue the unique codes to each state for them to then further distribute to electors. So before this happened, the EC said the process was manual and there was a possibility of duplicate epic numbers being allotted. However, they again said that this was not proof of any fraud or any duplicate voting. The EC then gave another detailed reply last week, where they said that in the next 3 months, they would make sure that every elector has a unique epic number. And those who have duplicate epic numbers as of now would be given new numbers. The EC also clarified that the process involves participation from political parties from the beginning. The political parties have the right to appoint booth-level agents who can actually check and can be involved in the electoral roll updation process. And in the case of Bengal, in the most latest special summary revision this year, the EC's data showed that there were no appeals filed against any additions or deletions in Bengal.
So, Damini, even though the Election Commission has made it clear that the issue would not be a problem, but does this signify an inconsistency on the part of the Election Commission?
There are definitely issues that are still unanswered by the Election Commission because it's the Election Commission's own manual on electoral rolls, which was issued in 2023, which says that epic numbers have to be unique. So the EC's own rules say that the number has to be unique, but now the EC is admitting that because the system was decentralized earlier, the numbers actually are not unique. There are cases where the registration officers have used an incorrect alphanumeric series, leading to duplication. And the EC is yet to clarify how many such cases exist. In a statement on the 7th of March, the EC said that they did a sample inquiry of 100 electors, and they found that those with duplicate epic numbers were genuine electors. So they were not fraudulent voters who did not live in that constituency or did not have the right to vote in that constituency. However, the EC hasn't yet said how did this happen, whose fault it is, whether there's an error in the system which did not flag these duplicate numbers being issued, and how many such cases exist.
And has the Election Commission faced any similar allegations before as well?
So from speaking to current and former EC officials, what I've understood is that this particular allegation has not come up before. It's not clear whether the EC was aware of this problem till now, or whether the TMC raising this issue has actually brought it to light even for the EC. However, the EC is yet to comment on whether it was aware of this before the TMC flagged this issue.
And in the end, we talk about the 2024 World Air Quality Report, according to which Delhi continues to be the most polluted capital city in the world. The report says that 13 of the 20 most polluted cities in the world are in India, with Birnihat on the Assam-Meghalaya border being the most polluted. The other cities include Faridabad, Loni in Ghaziabad, Gurgaon, Greater Noida, Bhiwadi, Noida, Muzaffarnagar, New Delhi, and Delhi taking the average of the rest of the city. The Indian Express's Malika Joshi writes that the report said, quote, Air pollution remains a significant health burden in India, reducing the life expectancy by an estimated 5.2 years. Unquote. India is the fifth most polluted country in the world with an average air quality index of 50.6 microgram per cubic meters, which is 10 times higher than the World Health Organization's annual PM 2.5 guideline value of 5 micrograms per cubic meter. In 2023, it was the third most polluted country. The report has relied on the data from over 40,000 air quality monitoring stations at 8,954 locations in 138 countries, territories and regions. It was analyzed by IQAir's air quality scientists. Further, Malika went into the details of the report that highlighted that only 17% of the global cities met WHO air pollution guidelines. Central and South Asia were home to the top 7 most polluted cities in the world. India was home to 6 of the 9 most polluted global cities. The most polluted major city in the United States was Los Angeles. The PM 2.5 concentrations decreased in every country in Southeast Asia, though transboundary haze and lingering El Niño conditions remain a major factor. In Africa, the scarcity of real-time publicly accessible air quality monitoring data is so severe that there is only one monitoring station for every 3.7 million people. While Delhi has seen a slight improvement, the report said that the NCR region is still heavily polluted. You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Shashank, Bhargava and me, Niharika, Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.